going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hollywood Interviews. Today, we're joined by Colin Fickes. Dude, you are the best. Thank you for being with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Pretty good. Noah, how are you today?
I'm doing great, y'all. Happy to be here. Happy to interview another great Hollywood celebrity for Hollywood Interviews. It's a wonderful day, man. Let's roll with it. I love it.
Awesome. All right, Colin, let's start off, man. How did you get your start in film and television?
I guess it's as simple as just starting with where I'm from, which is Raleigh, North Carolina. And in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, a lot of film and TV projects were leaving LA and New York and coming to North Carolina, and specifically Wilmington, North Carolina. And so I really had this great opportunity. I was already doing like community theater in Raleigh, and then I had the opportunity to get a local agent there and start auditioning for some of the things that were coming to shoot in the area in North Carolina. So I would start auditioning when I was really young, 10 or 11 years old, I think around when I started. And one of those auditions happened to be a Coen Brothers film called The Hudsucker Proxy that was shot in Wilmington. And so my first job on film was like this newsboy role where I'm like shoving a newspaper in Tim Robbins' face. And, it was like pre-puberty. So it's so awesome that lives on film forever. But I had a lot of fun doing it. And that was kind of like the thing that really sparked my my love. I mean, I was already enjoying acting on stage, but it really sparked my love for like film acting and TV acting. And so just kept auditioning and doing projects that would come through North Carolina. I think the second thing I booked was Dawson's Creek, which came through in like 1998. And then shortly after, I dropped out of college and did a horror film in Richmond, Virginia, which is also considered like a local hire. It was a horror film with Brittany Murphy called Cherry Falls.
Remember that?
That has an interesting story behind it that we could talk about at some point if you wanted to. Basically the movie almost never saw the light of day. It kept getting an NC-17 rating, and it wasn't what you actually ended up seeing was not the version that we all read and that the director Jeffrey Wright wanted to be presented. But anyway, I did that horror film and met all these actors from LA and New York, and it really motivated me to like really give it a real shot. And so when I was 19, I dropped out of college after a semester and a half and moved to New York City and started auditioning there, and then eventually moved to Los Angeles and was there for 10 years. And that's kind of how it all kind of started.
So your first project was a Coen Brothers project.
It was. And I knew of them. I mean, my dad was this huge movie buff. So, he would get all remember those Leonard Maltin books that would come out yearly of like all of the films. And he would watch movies on like, AMC or, all the film classic stations, and would like take a red pen. And if he had seen the movie, he would circle it. And so he was a huge fan of the Coen Brothers. And so he sat me down and had me watch some of the earlier stuff. And but I mean, I was still young enough to like not let it faze me too much, and was just nervous about making sure I wasn't going to mess up any of my lines. And but yeah, it was a Coen Brothers movie, The Hudsucker Proxy. That was first up.
So one thing that always makes me jealous of Noah here is his first project was 3 Billboards Over Ebbings, Missouri.
Nice.
And my first project was an eye care commercial. So it's
my true first job was a Wachovia Bank commercial. So
I guess
it would be that.
We're good. We're good.
So first of all, that's how I know he's from North Carolina, Wachovia.
Yep.
Right there.
Exactly.
I was lucky. I'm from Silva, North Carolina, and that's where they made 3 Billboards.
That's
so
right.
That was fantastic. And just growing up as a North Carolina boy, I was familiar with, your work and Hudsucker Proxy and everything. That's cool. North Carolina's a great place to be. South Carolina's, equally as fantastic. It's great.
It's booming right now. It's booming down there.
Booming. Oh my gosh.
And that's so cool that you were a part of that project. in Silva. That's awesome.
They're the first, and they transformed the entire town. They came in, checked out literally every little mountain town in all of the state, and they said this was good. And I tried out for it and was in a couple scenes, and I was already wanting to be an actor and in entertainment. That's when the bug bit me. But I want to touch upon your stage work, and I've one of my greatest regrets in high school was never trying out for the school play or some local theater. Do you feel like that early days in theater sort of helped you later in your career? Do you miss stage acting? Do you miss that?
I do miss it. Sure, I definitely miss it. There's definitely some days more than others, but it definitely prepared me, especially for something, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, the One Tree Hill arc of like when I got that script for the episode 316. It was like tons of dialogue, and so as a theater actor, that training did help quite a bit with breaking down the text, figuring out what was in the script, and like how to really kind of dive in, and also to really just kind of learn the lines, and so that you're not calling line on set. And so I think that training definitely did help for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent.
Yeah. Speaking of that, so that in particular, that arc, I'm going to be honest with you, is some of the best acting in all of television history.
Oh,
no, I'm serious. The performance you gave as Jimmy Edwards in that school, dude, I can't, to this day, I can't watch that and still not cry. It was just, so how did you prepare? Like once you got the script and how did you prepare for that? Like,
yeah, I mean, well, I remember going into it being really nervous. I mean, it's a really long story and I kind of don't know where to start with it. And I don't know how much time you have, but I had left the show after the first couple of episodes. And then, so it wasn't until like a year and a half later, I got a call from the creator to I was living in LA at that time, and went into on the Warner Brothers lot where they have their writer's room. And that's when he kind of pitched me the idea. And I was like, absolutely, yes, that would be fun to do. I like playing dark roles. It's super interesting. So I signed up for it. But then it wasn't until we almost finished shooting the episode right before it that I got the script, and everyone else had read it. And so like, I remember like Hillary came up to me on set one day and she's like, oh my gosh, have you read it? And I'm like, I haven't. And I was like, I feel like it. So I don't know how it got missed, but like I didn't have the script. So the second I got it, I think it was about a week, couple of days before we started shooting it, I locked myself in a hotel room and didn't leave, and broke it down like, like beat by beat, moment to moment. And really just tried to figure out how I was going to attack the role. And it was intense. Like, I was in a hotel room. So everyone's like, did you have so much fun shooting the show? And I had moments of fun, but it was a lot of work. And just constantly, I probably read that episode script hundreds of times.
What was the mood like on set during those days of shooting? Like, because
it was heavy. Yeah, it was really heavy. It was kind of its own thing, and I think some people had a lot of trepidation and didn't want to do it. I think there were some people involved, in the cast that didn't really want to do that. They didn't want to go there at the time. They thought it was, completely. It had been done. It doesn't need to be done. We don't need to address it again. And then I think that very week that we were starting to shoot it, there was a school shooting again. And so it's like, it clearly is so relevant, unfortunately, and it still is, which is crazy. But the mood was like really intense. A lot of people listening to music in their ear pods, like just trying to get into character and play everything really honestly. And it was a lot of work. And I remember we shot a lot of it in order. And so I lost my voice because it starts off where I'm screaming a lot and, could barely speak. And I don't even know if you see the suicide prevention PSA at the end. We shot that after overtime. We had worked crazy overtime. It was like 2 a.m. It was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't speak. And if you go back and watch that, it's like, can't even read the cue cards. I don't even know what I'm saying. So it was like, the whole process was pretty intense. And I'll share with you something that a lot of people don't know. And I hope this doesn't ruin any spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen it, but at the end, when I point the gun and end up taking my own life, we rehearsed the gun safety on the same soundstage that Jason Lee died.
Brandon.
When he was Brandon Lee. Thank you. Sorry, Brandon Lee. When he tragically was killed on the set of The Crow back in the 90s. So, it was just a really like heavy time filming that stuff, for sure.
Damn. Yeah. That was, like I said, I can't watch that and not just be super emotional. Like that and that whole scene too, is that whole arc sets up the whole rest of the show almost. Like everything different after that. So it was.
And it's interesting. I wondered what would have happened had I not like left the show after the first couple of episodes. Like, I don't know if that would have ever been a thing, right? Like if Jimmy was kind of always in the background, like Junk, or any of the other kind of side characters that you kind of see throughout the series, I don't know if there would have ever been that opportunity, because you kind of had to have that distance of him disappearing and kind of falling by the wayside to have that impact of like, everyone lost tabs on that character. People are like, wait, he was in the first 2 episodes? I don't even remember that. And you go back and watch, and so even as a viewer, you forget who Jimmy is for the most part. So just really interesting. But I enjoyed doing it. As hard as it was incredibly gratifying as an actor.
That is.
And to piggyback off what Dustin was saying, it's also one of the transformative times in my life as well. In my school, there was certainly after Columbine, we had lockdown drills, and I've got 2 kids. One's in high school, and the other one's going to be in high school. So I would show them, that in preparation. And I feel like, as when I was a kid, you had those very special episodes of, Full House and things like that. Right. And that they pushed, there's only so far they would allow things to go. So seeing an actual more reality. I think we need more shows television's changed. That's a whole separate conversation, Dawson's Creek and TV shows of that nature. I mean, if you think of maybe OBX on Netflix but that's more of a mystery. But I do believe that, we need more shows back on the air like that. I can't think of what today's equivalent would be.
Honest high school stories, because it's such an interesting time to kind of navigate when you're that age, for sure. It's interesting. One of the most received feedback I get is like, I show this to my kids. I wish this was shown in the school system, because bullying is such a major issue that can unfortunately lead to really unfortunate consequences. But
so switching gears, you mentioned Cherry Falls earlier. That was kind of my line of question. I love all things horror, mainly because it's escape from reality, maybe a creepier reality than the one you live in. But you mentioned sort of the behind the set drama and not really seeing, but there's not really a question in there. I would just want to hear more about your time on that.
Yeah, I mean, and this is gonna age me. This was a long time ago. This was back in 1999. So my recollection is a little bit fuzzy, but what I remember is it being this really sought after script. And I think it was the highest budget on like a horror film or something. And I could be wrong on that, but everyone was clamoring to be a part of this project. And the script just started to change a lot. And then I remember Jeffrey Wright, he's an Australian director. I think his most famous work would be Romper Stomper, which was one of Russell Crowe's first films out of Australia. And he kind of, the vision, like he had his vision, and then he sat us all down and he wanted us to do nudity. And like, we were like, hell no. And especially me, I'm like, I'm not doing that. And we were all really young at the time. We were like 19, 20-year-old kids. And And I just remember that the script changed a lot. And I remember a lot of my scenes got cut, like everything, like I had a pretty decent, like meaty part. And then it really got so much got axed, no pun intended, on the cutting room floor. And it was supposed to be a lot gorier than it ended up being. And yeah, it just didn't end up being the movie that they wanted. And sorry, there's a siren going by here in New York City.
Shocker.
But and then it was going to get this huge release, and then it just kept getting an NC-17, and it was this big issue. And then I think it eventually got released on Halloween on like the USA Network. So it became the highest budget of, I guess, a TV horror movie. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. And I just remember having a lot of fun doing it and working with Brittany Murphy. She was awesome. Can't say enough great things about her, and everyone was so great. And it was just one of those transformative moments, because I'm like, small town, you know, I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, and had all these big dreams, and then you see all these other people around your age doing it, and it just was really inspiring. And that's what motivated me to move up to New York when I was 19. So it's just a terrible movie. A lot of people love it, and they think it's become a cult kind of, because it is very, very cheesy at moments. But that was not the movie that was originally set out to be made. And I really, really would love to see the director's cut of that.
Absolutely.
Incredible. Yeah.
Absolutely. That would be a dream come true. It's almost one of those set stories like The Island of Dr. Moreau, what could have been. So as a young actor, how do you overcome sort of that feeling when you see the film? You're like, oh, a lot of my stuff was cut. I'm sure there anything like the thoughts going through your head. What did I do? What could I have done better? I mean, how do you overcome something like that?
It's tough. I mean, and it happened to me a lot. I mean, I remember doing the Rage Carry 2, and I had just a couple of lines with some of the actors in that, and then they didn't pick up my audio, and so they didn't want to fly me out to do. And I guess at the time they couldn't do it all online or remotely. So someone there's this man that dubbed my voice, and it just does not match at all. You know, and first time I saw that, I'm like at the premiere in the movie theater, I'm like, what? I've also a lot of times been the second choice, where it's like I've auditioned for things, and you know, I did one of my favorite projects, this Southern Gothic film with Billy Bob Thornton called Crystal, which was at Sundance in 2004, I think. I was not supposed to play that part. It was supposed to go to Brad Renfro. Wow. He was a huge liability at the time through lots of his drug use. And I ended up getting the part, and I remember wanting it so bad and hearing that I was not going to get the part. And then at the last minute, they flew me in to do it. And so you start to get used to trying to just let as much of it go as you can, and just always try to do the best job you can do as an actor, and also to keep your head up and keep being kind and showing up. And that's all you can do in life. I mean, and that happens not just in acting, that's in everything. So you kind of develop a thick skin, and you keep your head up, and you keep going as long as you can. So
yeah, well said.
It's not easy though.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's not easy.
No.
All right, so you have been in a lot of great television and movies. Out of everything you've done, what's been your favorite? What was your favorite project to be a part of?
It was definitely Crystal, which was the film I was just talking about, that was originally going to go to, the role was going to go to Brad Renfro. I got to spend like a month and a half in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, which is this really cool town that's in the Ozarks. Super progressive, yet the headquarters of the KKK are like 45 minutes away. So it's this interesting group of people, these artists that live in this town. And I loved the script. I loved the character. I was there, I think, for like a month and some change, and got to go see like Ray Charles with Billy Bob Thornton, one of Ray Charles's like last shows, and just like cool experiences. Whoa. I got to work with Johnny Galecki, great guy. Harry Dean Stanton was in the film. It was like Southern Gothic, and it was like growing up, it was like all the movies I watched were like independent films. So to be a part of something that, you know, it wasn't the largest budget, but it was like highly creative, and it was this meditative piece of like slow Southern Gothic. The whole movie is like, you know, you have to have patience to watch it because it's just like watching paint dry, and it's like strong characters, and I just had a ball doing it. It was so fun.
Wow. Speaking of working with people, you, good sir, are in the first Transformers movie. How was it working with Michael Bay?
It was interesting, and I'll say it was interesting because I had come from like doing a lot of independent films. So to go from like really small budget to like massive was pretty insane. And it was interesting too when I auditioned for it. So when I booked it, I did not know that I had booked Transformers. It was like highly secretive. I had to go in and look at the script, I think, and I couldn't, either that or what they sent me was watermarked with my name on it. Super secretive. And it was called Prime Directive. So when my agents called and they said, I was like, you booked Prime Directive. I was like, cool. Like, and all the entire audition was ad-libbing. There was no script. And then some of the things I had come up with, I think they ended up putting in the script, and it was a weird audition process. And then I found out it was Transformers, and I was like, holy moly, like that's insane. And Michael Bay, it's like, you know, he's you know, the biggest out there in terms of what he does. He's not really an actor's director, if I'm being honest. He's really worried about the background and the lighting, and it looks cool as hell. But you, as an actor, you really have to come prepared. I would say that, like, you really have to be on your game because there's no coddling, there's no really collaborative moment, at least for me, from actor to director. For that, you have to just be ready to just do what you do. And which is kind of cool. I think if you get cast in his projects, he trusts that you're just going to go and, you know, do what you're supposed to do and get it done. But yeah, he's busy lighting everything in the back and making it look real pretty. But I had so much fun doing it, and a lot of stuff got cut from that. We were the first movie to shoot at the Pentagon post 9/11. And there was this whole helicopter scene that we were matching from what we shot in LA, where we get flown to the Pentagon to decode what the Transformers are saying. Everything we shot at the Pentagon was cut, at least all of my stuff. And but again, it's like, if it gets cut, it gets cut, and you just let it go. But it was interesting to work on something that high profile, high budget. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you get a script from your agent and it's titled something and you don't know that it's going to be, well, like
clueless.
Star Wars.
I was clueless.
Prime Directive sounds like a Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. I mean, that is something in Star Trek. It's the Prime.
It
Directive.
absolutely does. Yeah. Yeah.
That's definitely. Well, Colin, man, we have loved having you. You've been a blast. So you did leave acting a while back. What are you working on these days?
I was gonna say, I'm shocked you guys had me on the show. I'm still relevant with acting.
Yes.
I haven't done it since, you know, I quit in 2012. So thanks for having me on the show again. I currently work for a nonprofit that was in the Hudson Valley that was founded by actress and filmmaker Mary Stuart Masterson. We train, mentor, and refer local Hudson Valley residents to below-the-line crew jobs in TV and film. So we also try to do it through the lens of access and inclusion. So we're looking to bring in more women, people of color, veterans, the disabled, anyone that feels like they have been denied access to television and film. We try to train them, and then we mentor and we refer to jobs in the industry, because the Hudson Valley has kind of blossomed into very much what I remember from Wilmington, North Carolina in the 90s. There are so many productions filming there. And when we can kind of get more television and film folks to come shoot in the region, you know, having a strong, robust workforce is really important. And so that's what I do every day. And I love my job. And, you know, it's kind of like partly helping people and still kind of involved in the industry, and I'm really enjoying it.
That sounds amazing, actually.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, check it out. Stockadeworks.org. You can read all about us.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
if you're in the area, please apply for one of our trainings or boot camps.
Heck
Absolutely.
yeah. We can link it in the description of this
Awesome.
episode. And
We'd be happy. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Well, again, thank you all so much for having me.
No, thank you for coming on, man. This has been a total blast.
It's a pleasure. And what we tell folks is never sell yourself short. You're relevant as ever. And we are blessed to have you on the show.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It really means a lot.
Dude.
Well, Colin, you take it easy, man, and hopefully we can have you back on.
Absolutely. Take it easy.
You too.
Bye-bye.